So you're broke as fuck and can't afford to hire extras. Well, I don't know to stitch multiple shots of myself together. Unless it's a simple shot like this, then you're going to need to do something called rotoscoping. The painstaking process of using masking or rotoscoping tools to manually trace and isolate an object for insertion into your shot. But there are ways around this. Most commonly, you'll see a Chroma key. Today, we'll use the inexpensive difference key. Being After Effects specific, I'll also run through the simple choker as a rudimentary way of controlling the After Effects difference key effect. The ideal conditions for a difference key are as follows. A static shot with no camera movement. Static lighting, such as an indoor studio location. Static backgrounds, such as an indoor studio location. And well-lit conditions, such as an indoor studio location. The difference key is most useful when inserting multiple elements that need to overlap. The difference matte effect essentially compares one video source to another, and isolates the areas that are different. The difference matte controls. I'm going to skip the useless shit. View. What's displayed? The final result, the generated matte, or the OG image. Yo. Difference layer. Defines the layer to compare the footage to. Matching tolerance. How lenient After Effects is with determining whether footage is different. Matching softness. Adjusts the size of the gradient between pixels identified as different and not different. Blur before difference. Blurs layers prior to the difference calculations. Increase this for noisier footage. Here's my workflow. Pause if you want to analyze this a bit more. From top to bottom, the key, the original footage, and the still plate. And let's begin. First, find an empty shot with similar lighting conditions and freeze frame. Or stitch one together in Photoshop if you can't find an empty frame. Deactivate this layer. Put two instances of your video footage as separate layers. Set the middle one to Lumitrack to the layer above. Apply the difference matte to the top layer. Set View to Matte. Set the difference layer to the bottom layer. Fiddle with the settings until you get a good result like this. It will vary from shot to shot. Then, I'll jam on a fast blur. This is why we have 3 layers. The fast blur will only blur the mask itself, not the footage layer. Increase this blur to remove more noise. Deactivate the top layer and you'll see the middle layer only appears where the top layer has defined. Whereas if we had applied the blur directly to the footage itself would be blurry. But now we have this shitty halo around our footage. Pre-compose everything, stamp on the simple choker effect, and increase the choking value to shrink the mask. You can also duplicate the layer to harden the edges of your key. I also duplicate the layer without the simple choker, and manually track the inside of the object to remove annoying noise. Pre-compose everything again. Apply a garbage matte using masks, removing unwanted shit. And now jam the footage onto your other footage. Because the character is in the foreground and out of focus, I'll also put a camera lens blur on to increase pixel interaction between the background and the foreground. Note that the simple choker also shrinks the layer around the edges of the frame. There are a number of ways of combating this. Crop your image by a small percent, or enlarge the element by a smaller percent. Both methods have their downsides. As my project was cropped to a different aspect ratio, this was not an issue. And you're done. In the last video, I also used the difference key here, where my head overlapped in the frame, rather than manually rotoscoping. Bye.